Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahushai Ba'Shem, Merkakodash. And I'd like to give double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. And peace and blessings to those for elect here in this word and truth and in sincerity. I'm the brother I1 from the GMS West Palm Beach Camp, back with another lesson. Through the spirit. I was meditating on this thought on how Babylon the Great, is pretty much wearing us out, man. Has worn us out, to the point where, you just feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again concerning the shit in this world, man. Going to work and coming back home and sleeping and just doing it all over again, man. Alright. And over a period of time, just Esau slaving you out, it'll wear you out, man. And the average person, it is of the Lord's mercies that we're not consumed, right? The average person, will crash out and pretty much go and do something because they don't have the spirit of understanding or the spirit of truth, man. Just like that one video where concerning the food stamps, you had Big Mama, in the office and she need her stamps, Babylon has worn out, all the Israelites, all the saints, man. Just the difference between us and them, Lord willing, is that, Lord willing, we be a part of the elect. And Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai is just pretty much giving us the spirit to endure, the hardships here in America, man. All right, and as bad as this is right now, it's only going to get worse. Okay, and these people got hyperinflation to look forward to, so it's going to get really, bad out here. But this is Daniel chapter 7 and verse 25. Let me see. Shalaki. Let me see. Yep. Daniel chapter 7 and verse 25. And it says, "And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of times." So the point that I want to get out of this scripture was that he's going to wear out the saints of the Most High. And as you can see, the Bible is faithful and true. And I can speak on behalf of other believers when I say that we're worn out, man. We're worn out. You gotta work harder, just to maintain. All right, in Babylon, you gotta put in more hours just to make the same amount of pay, because Esau Edom, is not going to pay you more for what you work for, man. And this is the wicked. This is the devil that we're talking about. The same man that put us into captivity. All right, and it pretty much worked till your bones fell off. This is the same man in power. So that's why you really shouldn't expect anything, grand from Esau Edom. You shouldn't expect any favors. That's why in the book of Isaiah, the 20th chapter, I want to say, it says how Jake made a covenant with death, and what the hell are they in agreement? Because those of our people that have made a covenant with Esau, all right, they pretty much, made a covenant with death, because Esau Edom, he doesn't hold on to his word. Esau Edom is the wicked. The so-called white man, he's that serpent, spoken about in the book of Genesis. All right, and the serpent is known for being slick, crafty. When you see a serpent move, and when they hunt their prey, You know, they're not aggressive in the sense of, just attacking the prey like that. No, they'll slide. They'll sneak up on the prey like slick, and then when they get close enough, they're gonna strike. And that one bite, is that lethal bite, man. It's gonna let you pretty much get weak off that venom, and then it's gonna devour you. And that's how Esau is, man. Okay, Esau Edom. He'll make you think that he's all for you, he's on your side, whatever. He's an upright man, and as soon as you start trusting him, all right, he's gonna stab you in the back. Okay. So my point that I'm getting to is that a lot of our people, they've made a covenant with Esau in hopes that life got better, in hopes that they got some money. God got made some good money, but the money that you made by making that covenant with Esau is going to be to no effect because the dollar is about to crash. And that's why the scripture says, how we abuse the world. It's like Satan, man, slip of the tongue. How we use the world, all right, and not abuse the world, because the fashion of this world passeth away. So the Lord may give us things, and the Lord may give us things and we have it for the moment, but at some point those things will be gone. There was another precept that I had. I was holding. Proverbs. Let's go to Proverbs 29 and verse 2. It says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. You see? So, if the righteous was in authority, nobody would be crying about no food stamps. There won't be no such thing as food stamps, man. If the righteous was in authority, which the righteous is talking about the Israelites, the so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans. This is how we are referred to today, but our true identity and true nationality are the biblical Israelites. But if we were in authority, we'd be under a righteous rule, and we will be. When Yahweh shall return, it sets his kingdom on earth. Hey, we're gonna be under a righteous rulership. Everybody, like when I say everybody, all the nations besides Esau, is gonna benefit off of a righteous kingdom. You see? It says, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn, and everybody's mourning right now. Nobody's happy. All right? And you got some people, they're finally, they're finally pointing a finger at the true problem. But for the most part, people are still blinded. And as you got people pointing a finger at Esau Edom, the problem, he's pointing a finger too at psyops that he creates, right? He'll create a problem. He'll create a problem, and then what he would do is he'll point the finger at that problem and say, look, look at this. To get the heat off of him. That's the devil for you, man. That's the accuser for you. Because what he does is he'll create a psyop, especially concerning Jake. He'll make Jake the face of the psyop. And then, he'll point at it and say, look, just to get the heat off of him. But Yahweh Bashim Yahushai got Esau, man. He's got his card. And this man's trying to escape judgment, but you can't escape the Lord's judgment. Yeah, the Lord set you up on planet Earth, to be the rulers. But that's as far as you're gonna go. Even you got a judgment coming. So if anything, gives you comfort, within this truth, it is this truth. But if anything gives you comfort, is the fact that Esau Edom has judgment coming. He likes to pass judgment, and mind you, there's not righteous judgment; it's wickedness. He likes to pass wicked judgment upon Jake. But you got to remember, he's got judgment coming his way too. You know? So to hell with these Edomites, man. Okay? To hell with its kingdom. To hell with Babylon the Great. And this place is about to go down real soon, man. You know, and all you people that laughed at the prophets, you know, that mocked the word of the Lord, you know, it's mainly y'all suffering. Alright, y'all got more suffering to come. You're gonna suffer your way into taking that MOTB. You know? Because when the Lord called, let's get that real quick and look at Proverbs. It's one in Proverbs, but it almost say the same thing in Isaiah, the 65th chapter. You know, Isaiah 65 and verse 12, and it says, "Therefore will I number you to the sword, and ye shall all bow down to the slaughter. Because when I called, ye did not answer, and when I spake, ye did not hear, but did evil before mine eyes, and did choose that word I delighted not." Okay? So the Lord is talking to, you know, 2/3 of our people, you know, that made mockery, you know, and pretty much made void of the Lord's word through the prophets, man. And now as they suffer, you know, as you suffer, you can't, you know, you're gonna have nothing to do. Alright? Because you're not gonna have any comfort, you're not gonna have any stability in the mind. So you're gonna try to do any and everything to try to survive out here. You know, and that includes taking, you know, the MOTB. Alright, which is all gonna be deception anyway, because alright, Esau, Edom, you know, putting that out there for you to take, that's only going to lead to you being further enslaved into the system. You know, and that's what it was always about. But Esau, Edom, he's gonna market it as he's gonna market the MOTB and this whole system as fun, fashionable. You know, because as you can see, electric cars, you know, it has become part of the norm. You know, I'm seeing Teslas everywhere now. There was a point in time where I seen Teslas here and there, you know, and people were saying, I wouldn't get a Tesla. You know, man, people are driving Teslas now. You know, and those cars, they're known for catching fire, you know, out of nowhere. You know, if you look up Tesla fires, you're going to see a lot of them, man. You know, but that's not the point. The point is that, you know, what was once a thing you wouldn't see, for lack of better words, it has become a norm. So what you think going to happen with the MOTB? Our AI has become a norm in society. You see it on social media now. You know, you just see, you know, different things, you know, that has become part of the culture, you know, Babylon culture. All right? So, you know, Esau, Edom is going to market this thing as the best thing to have while you're alive, you know, and that's going to be the great deception. And that's why in the book of Revelation, Yahweh Shai calls it the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Here's the book of Proverbs. Okay. Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 25. Matter of fact, we're going to get straight to the point. I want to go to another precept. Proverbs chapter 1 and verse matter of fact, we can start from 23. It says, "Turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will make known behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you. Because I have called and you refused, I have stretched out my hand and no man regarded." You see? And the Lord has his hand stretched out All right, by the prophets, by his servants. But our people, what do? They wag their hand. I don't want to hear that. They cross the street because they don't want to hear what's being said. But that's okay though, because as we enter into turbulent times, which it's already hard out here, it's bad out here, but as we enter into the harder times, put it like that, you're gonna be looking for answers. All right, and the answers are not gonna be there no more. The day the Lord removed these men off the street corners, don't take this the wrong way, but it's gonna be a relief. All right, because that means that we're gonna move into, the next step in Bible prophecy, man. Because, truth be told, I want to see spiritual power, man. Right? We want to see the miracles. We're not going to be out here preaching to wicked, rebellious Israelites, forever. Yahweh Shem Yahushua about to turn the knob up. So things like spiritual power, miracles, and, different things of that sort, it's going to be magnificent. We're ready to see it, man. But of course, we know that we got to preach the word in order for the elect, to hear it. But it says, Proverbs 1 and verse 24, because I have called and you refused, I have stretched out my hand and no man regarded. But ye have said that not all my counsel and would none of my reproof. And they don't want his reproof, man. It says, verse 26, I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. All right, you got Jakes out there. They literally laugh at us, man. Right? And that's part of our vexation here in Babylon the Great too, man. All right, part of our vexation and wearing out in the spirit, all right, is how these people of the world, they treat us, man. But that's okay. All right, that's okay, because our vexation in the spirit, all right, is suffering with Yahushua. The things that vexes us is pretty much us suffering. And as we suffer with the Lord, we're going to also be rewarded with the Lord. So it says, the day when, the Lord gave his men the power to say no. What I mean by that is, it's going to be so bad out here. The men that you call bums and crazies, and you don't want to hear nothing and all that BS. These are going to be the same men that you come across crying for help. And these men are going to say no. Get the hell out of my face. Of course, you're going to have a few jakes out there, Israelite men or women, that may be part of the elect, right? If they're the elect, Yahweh Shem Yahushua is going to put that on a brother's spirit and be like, follow me. But for the most part, you niggas and niggas, y'all gonna be left, to starve out here. And that's gonna be the complete judgment of the Lord, rightful judgment of the Lord. It says, verse 27, when your fear cometh as desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish cometh upon you, then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. You see? We're not going to find the Lord, when he sends the judgment. That's why the scripture says to seek ye the Lord while he may be found, and call upon him while he is near. And you can see that the times, man, the times is getting worse, and even as the times get worse, you can see like the weather, it lines up with what times we're in. And I know it's not according to that, it's according to the Bible prophecy. That's how we measure the times. But the point that I was making is, even the weather and like the rain and stuff like that, it's dark and gloomy. So it lines up with, the tone or the mood of the times that we're in. So it's just, Babylon the Great is just a cesspool of wickedness, man. You know, the Lord's gonna bring this bitch down. And I don't know, and I don't mean to rant so much, but it's like in those movies or TV shows, those cartoon shows where, you know, a certain village or city, you know, it's dark and gloomy, and the spirit of those people is always down. It's dark. You know, that's America, man. You know, America just got a dark cloud hovering it. You know, and the spirit of these people is just, you know, either sad or angry or, you know, wicked. You know, and it's like no sunlight here, or no happiness here. You know, this is truly hell, and this is why we're worn out in the spirit, man. All right, so Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash, and double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to all for elect hearing this word in truth and in sincerity. Until next time, I say shalom.